The common traits I saw might be outcast, socially a little awkward, not accepted, most likely been bullied, can't get a partner. Order of 9 Angles is supremacy to a whole nother level. You want to talk about some graphic, vile stuff to look at online? They're huge on pedophilia. This recent kid that just got arrested that he killed his parents, preparing for the Boogaloo, the D-Day, the war, and all these things, and we're going to the women and blah, blah, blah. And the accelerationist belief is...
I'm curious if you felt any remote commonalities with them at all. Were there some things that you could kind of see? Did you feel sorry for them? Did you feel like any kind of sympathy for some of their perspectives based on an upbringing or anything like that?
Well, I definitely believe, because I've seen it, the whole you're a product of your environment kind of thing. But I mean, I found some things to bond on, but really I was just connecting. To say I bond with somebody who believes that there's a hollow earth and Hitler's still alive in it with 15-foot giant white guys waiting to come back, a little tough.
Yeah.
A little tough. Jack Daniels helped with that.
Well, that's why I asked.
I'm like, woof.
Well, not to mention
and then sometimes I crack jokes on them. I'm like, really? It's concave Earth. Okay. Well, how do you know the Earth's concave? Well, it's a little known fact that Hitler did a study and he fired a rocket, and then I forget the story, but I think it ends like this. He fired a rocket and it eventually hit something, which means the Earth is concave. And I'm like, well, what if there was a hill? What if there was a mountain? I said, or what if whatever's fueling the rocket, it runs out and it just hits the ground? Yeah. Well, we don't know all the nuances of the test, clearly, but I mean, Hitler shows it. It's
a pretty impressive rocket that can go around the world or across the world anyway, in the 40s anyway.
And I'm like, what about all the pictures of Earth? Oh, that's fake. That's just one picture that's redone over and over and over. Yeah. And I go, okay, I haven't been to space. I can't argue with you too much, but yeah, it was just in the ideology. If it as a Christ follower, and I'm sitting here and we're doing satanic type stuff,
right?
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
it's different. But I'm in work mode too. I'm trying for that group in particular, the base. We just saw so much. We had so much predication and complaints and things coming in from across the pond, from other countries, world working partners, and within the United States. So again, you're being a proactive investigator. And in this case, I'm an undercover and I'm going in, and in the beginning, I'm just trying to connect, gain trust, and learn if you guys are planning to do anything bad or not. And if you are, what steps have you taken or are you planning to take to do it?
Right.
And that's eventually what we found out.
And it turned out to be a fruitful investigation in this case.
Very, yeah.
But it's also interesting to see the scope of time between those two cases.
Oh,
There's kind of what you highlight in the book too, but understanding that, man, when you wore a wire in the early aughts, it was, just like in the movies, and everybody knew to where to look for is taped to your chest and all kinds of goofy stuff. They had a couple little fidgety ones.
Yeah, that was the narc days, boy.
Yeah, and they're ridiculous, and it was so easy to find, and half the time they didn't work, and all the new gadgets, key rings and stuff like that never seemed to work right. Your phone would run out of room or whatever.
Whatever you hear keys rattling the entire time because that's where the microphone's in.
Right.
And you're like, I can't hear shit.
Yeah. So it was really, and then the birth of the internet was still new, so it wasn't possible for somebody to pay $15 and get a dossier on somebody like it was by the time you started the base investigation.
Yes.
Which I found fascinating. So you're still working pretty old school undercover in the early aughts. But by the time you get to whatever 2019 or whatever it was,
2019,
then it's a completely different set of circumstances because there is so much online, and that's where you started.
That's where these kids are being radicalized online. And it's not just the far right extremists that I infiltrated. It's your radical jihadists. They're doing the same thing. I've got peers, mentors, people I've been blessed to mentor, friends that are undercovers in that realm. And they're telling me, hey, country, it's the same thing, man. They're getting radicalized online. And, some of the common traits I saw in the base with the youth, and there were some other cases that I infiltrated neo-Nazi groups, not planning murder plots or anything like that. And nothing really came of the case, but it was the common themes I saw. and not saying this is the be all end all, because there's no boilerplate for a terrorist. There's no boilerplate for a murderer, right? But common traits I saw would be like the kids, I say kids, but
they were kids.
Some were 30 something years old with a job, but the common traits I saw might be outcast, socially a little awkward, not accepted, most likely been bullied at some point, can't get a partner. And here you look at a young guy with testosterone going through his body, and he goes into his bedroom at night and hops on that smartphone and starts diving down hate. I mean, you got all these apps that are out there that are reportedly encrypted, and a lot of them are. You got your Telegrams, you had 4chan, 8chan, 12chan, Threema, Riot, Wire, Gab, all these things. And there's more out there now. I just don't have my finger on the pulse, nor do I want to, really. I'm like, unless the Bureau wants to start cutting me some checks, but they go in there, and some groups I've infiltrated, man, you wake up and you're 1,000 posts behind, because all night long, people from all over the world that are in that group have been spewing some of the most vile, hateful, anti-Semitic stuff that you're like, oh my gosh. And then if you get into the accelerationist groups, which is like the base and Atomwaffen, then you get in, you scratch the surface on a lot of those, and you find somebody that's tied to O9A, Order of Nine Angles. This recent kid that just got arrested, that I can't remember, did he kill his mom and stepdad or dad and stepmom? Either way, he killed his parents.
Right.
And then he was going to try, they uncovered that he was going to be trying to assassinate Trump, and they arrested him. But it's the first thing that as they start reporting towards the end, they're like, oh, well, he has neo-Nazi ideology. And I'm like, okay, accelerationist. And then they mentioned O9A, and that's satanic. Order of Nine Angles is white supremacy to a whole nother level, tied to Satanism. And they are, you want to talk about some graphic, vile stuff to look at online. I mean, they're huge on sexual abuse, rape, pedophilia. It's not good. No. It is not good at all.
And so when you talk about the upbringings and the common themes among that stuff, is there anything that we can see at this point based on, I know you've left now, but is there anything you can see? Are there groups that wouldn't qualify as an investigatable or a prosecutable group that often lead into some of these other ones? Because it seems like to me we've got so much extremism going on now that you could have a left or a right extremist group that very easily it's like a baby step to the next level, as opposed to someone like you or I having to go from the middle all the way out.
So, great question. I'll speak on the domestic terrorism side of this far right extremism. In America, we've got the First Amendment. So you got freedom of speech. So you can walk out in the street here right now in LA and say, I hate all insert racial slur. I hope all insert racial slur die. That's not illegal. So we can hop into these groups, and let's just say it's hundreds or thousands of haters on there, and they are blasting some crazy stuff, but that's not illegal. But how do you know which one is going to be that next Tree of Life shooter?
Right.
Or that Christchurch shooter, or the Black Church in Charleston shooter, so you have to stay vigilant. And that's the thing, like with the base, we got in there, and once I started gaining more and more trust, they were saying crazy stuff, preparing for the Boogaloo, the D-Day, the race war, and all these things. And we're going to rape the women and blah, blah, blah. And nobody ever said who was going to be Hitler, because when you ask them that, they're like, oh, who is going to be Hitler? Well, they're going to be one, buddy. Who's going to be fighting it out? And surely to goodness, if we have an ethno state of nothing but white people, that'll fix everything.
Of course.
There'll be no drama.
And I heard you talk a lot about these guys would talk about some of the extraordinary things that they were willing to do, but still had some semblance of like, I can already tell I'm going to regret this, but I'm willing to do it anyway, kind of for the cause.
Yeah, kill your parents.
Yes.
Yeah, I had the one guy, he said it more than once, and a lot of times when he said it, he'd be crying. He's like, that was the Canadian that absconded illegally into the United States after being doxxed up there or being outed. He said, he goes, And this was a lot of their beliefs. If the Boogaloo happens and it's D-Day and we are now in the racial holy war, if you are not fascist, that automatically makes you anti-fascist, and the penalty is death. And it's like, I may very well have to put a bullet in the back of my dad's head and my mother's head. And, I'll do it, but it's going to hurt. And then the other one would be like, I could do it, but I know I'd cry myself to sleep every day. I'd probably get somebody else to do it. It's still going to suck because I love my dad. The other one was like, well, you're way ahead of me because I couldn't kill my parents.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But
there's different stages of buying in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to say hate begets hate. A lot of them come from broken homes. Mm-hmm. They want that belonging. They need to belong. They've been bullied. They can't get a girlfriend or a partner, whatever your flavor is, right? They're lonely and they want to be included in something. That is kind of basic human nature. So cults, same way. So this is kind of that same thing, that I see. You find somebody you can bond with but for your listeners, this acceleration stuff we're talking about, like the base and stuff like that's not your Charlottesville. We're walking down the street with picket signs and yelling racial slurs. That's not, they hate that. The accelerationist belief is they don't believe there's a political solution to save the white race. They believe that society is going to collapse on its own or from man-made events, and they want to speed it up. They're not going to stand out there with a sign because, number one, they say it does nothing. Number two, it makes you a mark. Everybody knows who you are now. They want to do guerrilla warfare type stuff where they come over here and a power grid goes down. Over here, a train's derailed. Over here, a leftist journalist is murdered.
Yeah. Over
here, it's a poison water system just to create chaos. Yeah. Derail a train, chainsaw trees down on the train track. I don't know how. I saw a lack of forethought and afterthought.